Yes, the stream is live.
Hello and welcome back to Grey Beyond Narratives, where we explore our world's complex and nuanced issues beyond black and white narratives. This is part two of our live session on religion and geopolitics in the Israel-Palestine conflict. We discussed some of the religious aspects of the conflict and how they influence the political and historical dimension in part one. We also examined some Abrahamic prophecies and scriptures related to the conflict and how they shape the beliefs and action of the parties involved. If you missed part one, you can catch up by watching it on our channel. In this section, we will continue our discussion by focusing on how religion can be a source of dialogue and reconciliation in a conflict rather than division and violence. We have Shaji, Sid, Furkan, and Andolanji as speakers. So, without further ado, let's get started. Shaji, over
Thank
to
you
you.
very much. I'm going to directly go to Furkan today and then Andolanji in regards to this particular subject. Because, like last time, what we discussed was that is it a geopolitical? So, the question is it actually a religious issue, or and the prophecies are coming true, or is it certain religious groups, whether they are Muslims, Jews, or Christians, making use of this geopolitical situation to exercise certain hegemony, or is it a combination of the two? Go ahead, Furkan, and then we'll move to.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me because I was having certain distortion. I think, Shah, we discussed it in the previous session on Friday that what are the implications of uh, the religious aspects of things in the region, and I think we can't uh, put a blind eye to what implications it might have. But there are certain geopolitical issues in the region and externally as well, जो कि affect करती हैं इस region की dynamics और especially politics को, और इस conflict को भी बहुत core तक impact करती हैं. It can be in terms of funding, political support, narratives, which lobby you are a part of. UK, when we talk about the global perspective of things in politics, we see there are certain lobbies and certain countries are aligning towards uh, one side and the others to the other side. But religious aspects in the region are very strong, and I think the starting point is the religious aspects. क्योंकि last time भी मैंने कहा था कि बहुत बड़ी दुनिया है, but they chose to come here for certain reasons. Was it is a harsh area, you know, not much water, not very fertile, and not oil rich as well, जो कि बाकी एक पर्क मिलता है इस रीजन में कंट्रीज को. तो आई थिंक रिलीजियस एस्पेक्ट्स को हम include किए बगैर we can't have a discussion over it, and we included certain religious aspects और उस पे हमने discuss किया. आज I think we should look more into uh, the geopolitics and the current situation जो कि अभी बन रही है. There have been statements made by certain people, and even I was going through certain news reports कि पाकिस्तान ने भी Palestinians को charter plane करा के 100 tons of medical aid and supplies भेजी हैं. So these sort of news are coming in. जी शाह जी.
So in geopolitical terms, Andolanji, can you refresh so we can pick you up on the stage? आपको जब तक आप refresh नहीं करेंगे, we won't be able to do that because your mic is not showing any options. Now it has. Hold on, let me just bring you back to stage.
Yep.
So, in terms of geopolitics, Furkan, what do you actually think is going on, and which country is trying to achieve what, and what's the entire situation in regards to that?
Sorry, if we like look at it broadly, तो और थोड़ा सा अगर हम कुछ डिकेड्स पीछे जाके देखें, हाउ थिंग्स हैव बीन इन द मिडल ईस्ट, देयर आर द सऊदीज एंड देन देयर आर द इरानियंस, एंड ये दो मेन कैंप्स हैं, और देन देयर आर सर्टेन अदर कंट्रीज which align with both the ends, और इनका बेसिकली पावर प्ले है जो कि रीजन में इम्पैक्ट होता है। सर्टन एरर्स में सर्टन जो आपकी वॉर्स रही हैं वो मेन इन्हीं दो पोल्स के अराउंड रही हैं, और वो भी अभी भी वही इंटरप्ले है। आई थिंक किस हद तक ओपनली वो आ सकते हैं कि सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं या बाकी कर रहे हैं, दैट आई कांट से, बट लाइक Hamas is being supported by the Iranians, and because of that, उनकी भी conflicts अमेरिका से रहते हैं, और there are certain other Middle Eastern countries which are going towards the American side of the world, और उनकी जो foreign policy है उसको support करते हैं in the region, और जो उनकी thinking about how the region should be, they endorse that. So I think that is the major uh, uh, lobby system आप कह लें in the region, जो कि it is also being used as a tool by certain global players बहुत देर से, not currently, like आप 3-4 decades पीछे चले जाए, 5 decades, 7 decades even पीछे चले जाए, जब ये सारा सिलसिला शुरू हुआ था, तो उनको बहुत अच्छी तरह यूटिलाइज करके they have used them, and both the parties have benefited. I won't say it was a like a one way street. It was a sort of a relationship जहाँ पे दोनों parties ने benefit किया था। जी शाह जी।
Andolan ji, same question to you. Do you believe it's a religious thing or a geopolitical thing driven, and religion is being used in regards to that? However you would like to elaborate, I think you understand the basic question.
अच्छा, इसमें एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग पहलू है जो मैं डे बिफोर यस्टरडे शायद अपनी बात हो रही थी, कब हो रही थी, 1-2 दिन पहले, तो मैंने वो जब टाइम खत्म होने लगा था
जी जी
तो
जी बिल्कुल वही कंटिन्यू।
हाँ, तो मैंने ये कहा था कि एक बॉम्ब और छोड़ना है, तो मेडूसा सेट कि ये दे दो, कीप इट फॉर द नेक्स्ट डिस्कशन. So if you recently, that bomb was actually the Netanyahu's statement, which he made a few days back, I think even before the start of this conflict, with respect to Hitler and the role of Husseini in, inciting Hitler to, murder Jews. Right. So that part, while I have not attended all of the discussions, but I think that part has still not been discussed to the best of my knowledge. So, that was an interesting take because, and probably that needs to be discussed. So that would be my opening statement. It seems more like a religious issue to me rather than geopolitical. And I gave you, I think the first time when I came in, when we were discussing with Arslan, I gave example of Chabad House in Mumbai, where the terrorist group specifically took extra risk, are going out of the way to go and hit a particular Jew settlement where only 6 guys were there, right? And they eliminated them, right? So it's not just geopolitics; it is religious.
So you think it's completely religious at its basis, or would you say that it is partly religious, and because the religious prophecies and the religious drive is there, some people or some countries or some associations might be using it as a political game as well?
So every situation can be exploited for politics or geopolitical status, but the core of the issue remains religious, Shajid. If you see currently, even the current conflict which is going on, if you see the global divide, predominantly the divide is on the line of religion itself, right? So, and of course, there would be exception on both the sides, but broadly, the divide of the people who are supporting the Palestine cause are, one group, people who are not supporting the Palestine cause are another group. Broadly, broad brushing it. There would be few exceptions here and there. You would find Jews for Palestine, and then you will find Muslims for Jewish state, and so on and so forth. But broadly, this is the block which is playing on. So the
I
issue is
completely
religion.
agree
Yeah.
with the notion when it comes to the Jews and the Jews and the Muslims. There is like obviously that sectioning, but Christians are an interesting one because when you come across Palestinian Christians, they don't really support the state of Israel. And when you look at the Catholics and various others, they don't either. In majority cases, it's usually the evangelical Christians from United States who are basically more interested in supporting this entire narrative. Why do you think that difference is?
So those are also coming in from religious orthodoxies. So
Hmm.
there are groups within Christians, and then there are groups within Orthodox Jews, right, who do not like each other. So and that's it's evident even today that there are certain groups which play out. But when we talk about the Jew-Muslim conflict, and this starts specifically taking shape in modern construct within Netanyahu's statement that Hitler, while was against Jews, but was initially not in favor of killing the Jews. He was in favor of probably moving them out of Germany and his controlled lands, but with the encouragement by Hosseini, he went on to exterminate them, by gassing them, etc., etc. So I sometime back I was having this debate. I may have some data points noted. I'll pull them up,
Hmm.
which actually gives credence to this Netanyahu's statement that yes, initially when the SS and Hitler started rounding up Jews, he immediately didn't started killing them. This
Hmm.
killing started post his meeting with Husseini.
I understand. Yeah.
So I'll drop that, but maybe if there are other people who can make the opening statements about the issue.
Yeah,
I for one
definitely.
is
You
quite
you
sure that
drop
that
that, and Sid will share that in the next round. You collect that. So I think Sid has something to say as well. Sid, same question to you, and I think we wanted to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah. Could you repeat, paraphrase the question for me, Shahji? Shahji?
Yes, Sid, speak.
Yeah, you're asking me whether this particular conflict is mostly based on religious grounds or political grounds, geopolitical grounds. मामला ये है कि इसकी जो बेसिस है वो तो रिलीजियस रहेगी क्योंकि आइडेंटिटीज जो लड़ रही हैं their primary identifier, the way that they identify themselves on, on the topmost in their hierarchy of identification is a religious identity. जो जायनिस्ट्स हैं वो इसराइल की सपोर्ट इस वजह से करते हैं बिकॉज दे आर जायनिस्ट्स पैलेस्टीनियंस आर आपको ये पता है ना कि अगर कोई ज्यू है in order for the Gazans or the people of West Bank to be very easily included in the to get an Israeli citizenship is they can just become Jewish. क्योंकि इसराइल का जो सा लॉ है वो ये है anybody who is a Jew is naturally a citizen of Israel. Majority of the citizens of Israel are actually outside of Israel because every Jew is a citizen of Israel. That उनका ये लॉ है. तो जिस तरह कल बात हो रही थी डेमोग्राफिक्स चेंज की कि गाजन्स और वेस्ट बैंक को क्यों इंक्लूड नहीं करते ड्यू टू डेमोग्राफिक चेंज. The Gazans and the Palestinians and the people in the West Bank, they can very easily be integrated if they just say, hey, you know what? I will take the Noahide laws and I'll call myself Jew. They will become part of Israel. The problem is solved. वो नहीं करते. They defend their identity that we will call ourselves Muslims. We want to remain Muslims. This is our identity. This is who we are. This is what we believe in. If they, at any point, if they want, okay, this is not working out, I don't want to sacrifice for my identity anymore, I will take the Noahide laws proposed in the Torah, and I will call myself Jews. It's done. They can just go to the go to the barrier and say, "Hey, I'm a Jew. I'm declaring myself a Jew. Take me in." And according to their laws, they will. So at the core of it, it is a battle between two identities which are religious and all the prophecies that surround it. Josiah,
But can anyone convert to be
yes,
a Jew? To the best of my knowledge, they do not allow conversions,
I
right? You can only
personally
be
know.
born
I
into a Jew.
personally know
there
a guy
are
who
there
converted
are
into a Jew.
conversion
No, no,
laws.
no. Actually, I'll keep this short. Otherwise, that will go. So they're not allowed to. What they don't do is go and preach conversion. But there is a whole process which is very long lasting. कोई एक दो साल लग जाते हैं उसके अंदर. But there is a conversion process. This is one of the most misconceived notions about Judaism, that people cannot convert. If somebody does convert, they have to go through the Torah and everything. It's a very long process. It also entails you're going to have to live within the community for a certain amount of time. Obviously, genetically, they're not Jewish in regards to that, but there is a process, and such Jews exist, and they have a particular name for it. I've forgotten the name of the giant.
The Noahides, the
Yeah,
Noahides.
exactly.
Even
That's
the
it.
guy who said that if I don't steal this house, someone else will. Even he's a convert Jew. As a matter of fact, a lot of these occupations and this apartheid that's happening, they actually are mostly converts. So they're not putting their own people because they know, like, I mean, that's a whole dangerous area. So yeah, बहुत हो रहा है. That's happening. I personally know a guy who converted to Judaism.
Is it me or Arslan is breaking?
It's you. He's clear. Anyways,
Arsalan
carry
speaking.
on.
I know he wasn't breaking. He was fine. Now he got
And
disconnected.
now he's gone. And now Andaran is also. We're having
Oh.
very bad internet. बट क्या शादी अब उसके कोर के ऊपर जो सी प्रोफेसीज हैं वो भी दे प्ले अ वेरी बिग रोल जिस वक्त इसराइल नहीं बना था बिफोर ऑल ऑफ दैट आफ्टर द वर्ल्ड वॉर देयर वर अ लॉट ऑफ प्रपोज्ड लैंड्स मैं मुझे उसका मीडिया जो है इतना कोई खास अच्छा अवेलेबल नहीं आया they were up to 7 to 9 different places that were proposed as a land for Jews, and they were actually politically speaking very good places. मुझे वो इस वक्त नजर नहीं आ रहा लेकिन वहाँ पे वो विदाउट एनी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रह सकते थे. I have a very small picture which I would like to show. I'll give it to you guys shortly. मिसाल के तौर पे हम नॉर्दर्न अमेरिका के अंदर it's a very vast land, Northern America, and there are a lot of Jews living in America. And in America, there are places which are sanctioned for a particular group of people, Native Americans to be specific. They could have established a state in what's it called, South America. The land is vast. They could have sent them to Australia. Australia is a very, very big land, and it is much more hospitable than the place which they have selected, Israel. But they did not do that. So I can't help but say that it has religious roots onto it. This is one of the pictures or proposed data that I found online. I will share it with you guys. Mm, here, As you can see, these were some of the proposed lands for uh, establishment of a Jewish country or a Jewish land. Uh, these places are not harsh for them. They could send them in northern, in China, in this particular place, Gribovichtan. They have a whole study in regards to that. And this was before establishment of Israel. If they wanted to live in peace and harmony and have a blast of their time having a completely free country without any problem, it was available. It was available in North America, it was available in South America, it was available in Australia, it was available in between Russia and China. It was there were a lot of lands. The land of God is very vast and it can be populated quite easily.
Sid, sorry to cut you, but what's the source of this document and what is this document exactly? Because is it old newspaper clipping or what exactly this is?
It's a old as you can see ये AGS लाइब्रेरी WM मिलवाके ये एक न्यूज़ क्लिपिंग है उस जमाने की यहाँ पे आप सकते हैं इसकी सोर्स वहाँ ऊपर लिखी हुई है 1945 की ये सोर्स है दिस इज proposed paper in 1945 अगर आपको स्क्रीन पे नजर आ रहा हो I will try to focus a little bit more on it there with the signatures and the source of it UW Milwaukee के अंदर ये जो propose किया गया था and there were many others so it's not something out of the blue source of it if I will expand onto it published by Joseph Hector ये उनका जो सा exact source जो है तो यहाँ पे आपको नजर आ रहा है if it is visible to all of you
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
yeah. So yeah next question Shadi
Gigi, Likin, what exactly is the point in regards to this? What were you trying to say? I didn't get that.
the point was that the reason why Israel is where it is because of religious grounds. That's the whole point of it. The promised land that was mentioned in Ezekiel, the promised land that was mentioned in Genesis, the whole story in regards to the people
No,
of
but
Moses.
if, for example, forget the conflict for a second. If we just look at it from the religious perspective of the Jews, wouldn't you say, like, if, for example, Muslims were put in same conditions where Mecca and Medina was now inhabited by people of a different religion, and I'm trying to be completely non-biased when I ask this question, being from a Muslim background and being a Muslim, uh, don't you think Muslims around the globe, wherever they would be, would basically want some kind of affiliation or some kind of access at will to their holy land?
Shaji, it is impossible for Muslim rulers to deny access to the Jews to that land. We are compelled by orders from people that are much more revered, that hold whose words uh, hold much more importance than any political leader who would call himself Muslim alive today. The promises that were made by the Prophet, the promises that were made by the four rightly guided caliphs, they stand still today for all of us. As a Muslim, no Islamic leader has the right whatsoever to deny access to that land for the Jews. So, if we are thinking that uh, if Muslims rule that land, they would somehow restrict or deny access to Christians or Jews to that land, the first person who would fight against them would be me and you, actually, any educated Muslim, because we are not allowed that. We are specifically ordered to not do that. And when it comes to the scenario, if the people of Mecca and Medina just naturalistically converted from Islam to some other religion, a human approach would be preaching. Our first response, if we are educated, civilized, faithful people, we should believe in our faith. Our first response should be preaching. Our first response should be to revert those people back to Islam. Our first response cannot be if and only if the people who are already living there just leave Islam. We do not hold the right to attack them. And
What do you
actually,
mean leave Islam? I really don't understand. You've said that, repeated that
the,
two or
the,
three
the,
times,
the, hypo-
and I'm
the
really trying
hypothetical
to dig what you're trying to say, but I don't really understand.
the hypothetical that you gave me, Shadi, was what should be the response of Muslims if we are in that situation that in Mecca and Medina people become non-Muslims. There are two
Mm,
ways of doing that. The first way would be that non-Muslims invade Mecca and
mm,
Medina, in which case it would be perfectly reasonable for all the Muslim countries to repel that attack and to fight against them if
mm,
the scenario is that, and which, by the way, is written down in our books as well.
mm,
Somebody from Ethiopia is indeed going to come and destroy Mecca. It's going to happen according to our books.
mm.
In which case, a reasonable response would be to fight them back. But in the scenario, uh, in the hypothetical that the people of Mecca and Medina just leave Islam, we cannot have the right to attack them. Those are the
But
indigenous
but
people
you
of that
do
land.
but you do realize, even though some of them were inhabitants, there was a period in the Ottoman Empire when it was in decline. They were selling a lot of properties to these same Jewish people as well. Are
Yes,
you aware of that?
yeah, but do you think that those Jewish people are the people that have made
Yeah, that's what
Israel?
kick-started this movement. If you
Kick
realize
started it.
the Balfour Agreement, what was it based upon? That there is this new phase of enlightenment and this eagerness to go and move to the Holy Lands, and the Ottoman Empire allowed it, and we should make it official. And because this eagerness is there, there might be a way where these people can come in. But I'm not saying it's justified, but we have to look at it in terms of history. We have to like conduct it in a way. We have to converse about it. That which parties went wrong where. So there were local issues as well. If you understand where I'm coming from. So the
I'm
Muslims
not
who
saying that
were
they were
ruling at the
not.
time, they're the ones who started this.
I
They're
mean,
the ones who open those doors. So it's very similar, I would say, to Western countries who've now provided nationalities and opened immigration for a slightly different in various ways. We can work on the intricates. The intricates might be different, but it's a similar kind of a movement to how Western countries, to begin with, uh, provided immigration and then nationalities to various people. And today you've got immigrants of all kinds of backgrounds in the United Kingdom, in the USA, and in the EU. Now, the issue is if, for example, they started providing that, then that channel was open. It was just not very well managed. Do you understand? And then the Second World War came in the middle, and after the First World War, everyone knows how the Ottoman Empire like had finished, anyways. So it kind of left that entire land in a very kind of a gray area where the British were ruling, but they had only control, but the local populace was not there in support of them. And then economically, that area was not very prosperous at the time. And so it's a combination of mismanagement, a combination of things which basically started the entire thing. And I reckon that in itself, uh, if would have been managed better, you would have had a different scenario. So you can't entirely blame the Jews on in terms of returning there, especially if they have religious affiliation, and then the borders are open to them to a certain extent or certain amount of them. Then obviously, what you're inviting is chaos for the future. And that should be a prime example for, even though this would be off topic, and I don't want to get into a debate in regards to that, but this should also be a prime example to Pakistanis in context of Qatar. So they need to be extremely careful in regards to what they're opening, because otherwise it will end up in a very similar way.
A very reasonable assessment, Shaji, but I mean, we can very easily say that the Ottomans allowing open access and being lost in the World War One and Two has a lot of weightage to all of these things, which is understandable. If they are at fault, they are at fault. But that does not absolve the people who did all of the wrongdoings of their crime.
No, the issue is that everyone we speak to in regards to this subject has always taken a side, including us. But we're trying to look at it in a non biased way. And if you're going to look at it in a non biased way, we're not going to discuss, for at least this part of the conversation, that who's right and who's wrong. We're trying to figure out where the things went wrong because you pointed out certain things. Now,
I can't hear Shah for some reason. Is anyone speaking?
can
Yes,
you hear me?
he is audible. He is audible.
I'm audible.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the basic crux behind it. Said obviously there is a certain amount of aggression coming out from the Jewish Israeli occupying forces, but what enabled it was mismanagement on the part of certain groups who happen to be natives. If you, I hope that's
They
understandable.
happen to be Turkish, Shaji. I'm not educated in regards to mismanagement of the
Was Al
natives.
Husseini the great Grand Mufti at the time of Second World War when he was? There's another aspect to it as well. The Grand Mufti of Palestine or Jerusalem, Al Husseini, who basically then allied with Hitler, was very vocal about these things. He changed his stance right at the end when he realized certain things had occurred. Now, that guy
Uh,
was obviously a Palestinian. People around him were Palestinian. People welcoming these people were Palestinians. People selling those lands were Palestinians to begin with. And then when the Jews realize that they are more educated, they have more resources, and they've got this certain stigma attached to them in the West, and the Western forces, specifically Germany, is against them. And because Palestine and the Grand Mufti of Palestine at that time, or Jerusalem, Al Husseini, had clearly gone on the side of Nazis. So obviously, the British at the time, or the Allied forces, had no love for the Palestinians because obviously their leadership was siding with Germany. What do you expect?
isn't that the same Husseini who was a part of Arab revolt against the Turks? So I don't think that as
Al
Muslims we should
Husseini
look.
was part of wars against the Turks.
No, was he not against the
Al
Turkish rule or the
Husseini
Ottoman?
was alive at the Second World War time.
And was
So
he
he was an
pro
ally
or
of Hitler.
against? Was he against the Ottoman Empire and in favor of the
Ottoman
Arab League?
Empire ended in the First World War. This is Second World War we're talking about.
Oh, okay. In
So
that scenario,
After the First World War, the British took over. Obviously the Palestinians didn't like that much, and they were kind of seeking freedom. They'd left the Holy Land not in uh, that entire context of like how they're going to control it. It was kind of temporary. But having said that, when the local religious leaders or the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, Al Husseini, is going to go and side with Hitler in every way possible, then you've generated naturally two. I'm not saying what he did was right or wrong over here. Obviously, the opposing sides are going to be your natural enemies. And in this case, your natural enemy, the first one who was your natural enemy, turns out to be the British. And the second ones who turn out to be your enemy is basically the Jew. So that leaves a perfect breeding ground for what was to occur and what has occurred.
okay, Shaji, uh, understand. Put yourself in the position of the British Empire. You control a land. You know that the people of those lands are have a very recent history. I mean, I would not support if Al Husseini in the things that he had said in regards to kill the Jews. Why kill the Jews? Are they not the people of the book? Do we not have established promises with them? We do. Uh, you can't, in your good consciousness, just say kill them. That's that was a bad thing to do. That was an evil thing to do. But look at it from a British perspective. You know that these people have a very recent history in regards to being anti-Jewish. The people surrounding that area are having problems in that regard. So what do? You make the Jewish land that you were talking about in that particular area, not anywhere else. I mean, the Jews did need a land after being
Yeah,
ousted.
obviously, because as far as the Allied forces and the Brits were concerned, they just won the Second World War. The locals in Palestine had gone against them, so they're going to seek revenge. And
The British
obviously,
are.
the second people they're imposing on that land are basically the Jews who've just been tortured or killed, or the entire thing what Hitler carried out. To be honest, if you think about that time period, the Jews were not having a very hunky-dory time in United States or United Kingdom either, but it was not to the same extent as what was going on continental Europe. But obviously, it's a easy offload, don't you think? You get one over the Palestinians. You get the Jews on your side. You come out as a hero in front of the world, and with your own religious people, the Christian evangelicals and whatnot. You get your prophecies and your religious extremists on your side as well, and you've got an ongoing conundrum. And once you've got that, that's what you're seeing.
Okay,
For
so
an
we are
ongoing
going to
scenario,
we are
which you
what we
play
are going to
whenever
do
you want.
now.
Perfect
What
situation. So that's why I think they played very well. It's a geopolitical situation, in my opinion. Geopolitical situation fueled by various religious prophecies, fueled by religious groups, and taking revenge in terms of geopolitics. That's what
so
we're
in
seeing the
order
result
to
of.
take revenge, you're going. Okay, so basically we're just going to blame the colonials now. I mean,
I have not blamed anyone. I've just pointed out a few facts. You can verify them if you want
no,
to.
they are indeed
So
true. They are.
the thing
I'm
with
not
this
saying
is
they're not
not
true.
a colonial thing, because post Second World War, uh, uh, the colonial stuff has ended. So it's more like geopolitical in the modern era.
After the colonial factor had ended, it's not like there were not Jewish exclusive
I think
labor
I've made
unions.
my point. You don't understand, it's fine.
No, no, no. I completely understand and agree with it that that part is true. But after that, were there not Jewish exclusive labor unions, which made it very hard for the
Nobody's
Palestinians?
denying that. What we're trying to pick out is not that Jews are not, and the Jewish, not the Jews, Israeli state.
Zionists, to
Is
be particular.
currently nobody's denying what doing is not genocidal. Nobody's denying. At least I'm not. I'm not denying that they're oppressive. I'm not denying that they practice apartheid. I do not deny for a second that they oppress the Palestinians. But the fact of the matter is that there it was a huge mismanagement, firstly, at the time of the First World War by the Ottoman Empire. Then there was obviously enmity which developed at the time of Al Husseini, specifically when he allied with Hitler. That was an enmity which was of a great extent. It cost them. Maybe the Allied forces, the Americans and the Brits and the Europeans, even the Russians were in favor of this state because they were part of the Allies at the time. If you look at the state conception of state of Israel, you'll see a lot of Russian influence in that. You'll see their leaders coming in and going. This is only recent that they've deviated from that stance, and even that ever so slightly, not that much. So when you look at it, it's a clear stance of enemy of Hitler was an enemy of ours, and these people supported the Nazis, and it was the Jews who got done by Hitler. So we're going to come out as heroes. That not only did we defeat Hitler, but we also provided a refuge for the Jewish people. And not only that, where we are all for the peace process, it's the Jews and the Palestinians who cannot live together. And obviously, you're fueling that with your own Christian extremists, the quote unquote evangelical Christians. And by doing that, you've got an ongoing thing. You've got an ongoing thing which is right in the nucleus of the entire Muslim world, which controls oil, and they knew that between the allies, and they knew that it gives them exercise in terms of their own religious Christians at the same time, and the end of day prophecies come out in various shapes and forms. But if you look and speak to Orthodox Muslims, Orthodox classical Christians, Orthodox classical Jews, they are all three groups are against what's happening. So it
I,
seems to be even the clerics, the extremist clerics, or the Zionist Christians, as some people might want to refer to them as, the new born Christians again, are the same very people. So you've got from the Muslim side, you've got terrorists like Hamas. On the other side, you've got this other extremism coming from America and the Western places where it's Christian evangelicals, neo Nazis, and then on top of that, what you have the Jews who are Zionists as well. So what you're basically ending up with is a geopolitical heaven for certain countries, fueled by fights and things which might have not even been possible. And that's my opinion on this actual question. I've been asking everyone else, but I thought I should give my opinion in regards to that. But I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's what I think.
Actually, Shadi, I think you've cracked the case, and it completely aligns with how I ended the previous session. Uh, when America gets hungry, its in weapons industry and its military industrial complex starts turning out weapons that they have to sell, and the white man has made its sources of income. I mean, they have to eat as well. So they thought it through 100 years ago, and now they have places where they can sell weapons.
Yeah,
They got
thank you. I think we, yeah, yeah, you're right, Sid. I think we have another panelist, Desi Neo. I think he hasn't added anything or spoken. So, Desi Neo, would you like to add something to the topic?
yeah. Welcome,
अस्सलाम
Neo.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, क्या हाल चाल है?
जी जी, ऑल गुड। आप सुनाएं,
Alhamdulillah.
ठीक है?
बस मैंने देखा सिद्ध इधर थे तो मैंने सिर्फ उनको इन्फॉर्म करना था, उनकी जो कॉन्वर्सेशन मेरे साथ थी तो वो मैंने अपने चैनल पे डाल दी है। तो
मैंने
अ,
देख लिया
अच्छा
मैंने
अच्छा,
देख
वो
लिया
मैंने सेपरेट क्लिप करके वो डाल दी, तो मैंने देखा आप आए थे, मैंने आपको इन्फॉर्म कर दूं
नहीं,
कि
अब
वी
आपको
हैड।
ऐसे नहीं जाने देना मैंने। नियो, आप यहाँ पे अपना ओपिनियन भी देंगे और यू आर गोइंग टू स्पेंड सम टाइम विद मी, वो फ्रेंड्स यार।
हाँ, नहीं, नहीं, मेरा मतलब ये वाली तो बहुत ही हाई लेवल की कॉन्वर्सेशन है, मेरे तो इतनी नॉलेज है भी नहीं। इस वाले जिस तरह के शाजी और आप लोग डिस्कस करते हो, मेरे तो सर के ऊपर से गुजर जाता है जियो पॉलिटिक्स और ये वो। और मतलब पता नहीं क्या इसराइल ने उस जमाने में, ऑटोमन ने क्या कर दिया, ये वो, ये तो मेरे मेरे पे ग्रेड से बहुत हाई वाला है। मुझे याद है मैं गया था इधर, यासिर कादी है एक स्कॉलर है, उनके साथ हम लोग गए थे जॉर्डन और जेरूसलम और मस्जिद अक्सा का टूर हम लोगों ने किया था। तो हम वी स्पेंड अबाउट गुड 1 वीक इन मस्जिद अक्सा एंड ऑल द होली साइट्स, रफा और इधर उधर हम लोग सारे गए थे। और फिर देन वी वेंट टू द जूइश सेटलमेंट्स आल्सो। तो आई सॉ इट फर्स्ट हैंड कि भाई उधर किस तरह सिचुएशन चल रहा है और किस तरह वो जो जिसकी बात करते हैं कि सड़कें बनी हुई हैं जिस पे पैलेस्टीनियंस ड्राइव नहीं कर सकते, और जूइश सेटलमेंट्स के बीच में हाईवेज बनी हुई हैं जो reinforced highways, and like one settlement can go to the other settlement, and from that settlement to another settlement, and they never have to go into Palestinian territory. और बड़े बड़े साइन लगे होते हैं कि if you are a Israeli, if you cross this लाइन, और जो एरियाज के अंदर लाइंस बनी हुई हैं और उधर येलो कलर के साइन लगे होते हैं कि अगर if you are a Israeli and you cross this line, the IDF has no responsibility of you. If you die, you get kidnapped, whatever, it's up to you. तो हमें बड़ा अजीब सा उधर सिचुएशन है इन दैट जेरूसलम के आसपास का इलाका, एंड प्लस स्पेशली जेरूसलम इज़ अ वेरी वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग प्लेस, स्पेशली जो मस्जिद अक्सा है और उसके बाद टेम्पल माउंट है, उसके आसपास जो है ना 4 क्वार्टर्स बने हुए हैं, Muslim quarter, Jewish quarter, Christian quarter, or Greek Orthodox quarter. So there are four exact sections right around, like four में divide हुआ हुआ है, that whole area, and they are literally all four of them are living right side by side, and it's such an amazing thing to see how four of the big, you know, three basically of the big religious things are right in the same area, and all three of them are like revere the same thing, like the Temple Mount and the Wailing Wall or जो Masjid Aqsa and all three religions revere that. Especially उसमें आप जाओ ना, Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So this Church of the Holy Sepulchre के अंदर literally 3 to 4 different denominations है Christian के, they all share that Church of the Holy Sepulchre inside that church. उन church को उन्होंने divide किया हुआ है। तो आप उस चर्च के अंदर जाओ तो वो जो है जहाँ जीसस को ले डाउन किया था वो एरिया अलग सा है, ग्रीक ऑर्थोडॉक्स का एरिया अलग सा है, रोमन कैथोलिक्स का एरिया अलग सा है, विद इन द वन चर्च इटसेल्फ दे आर डिफरेंट padris of the same church. So it's a very interesting thing to see these things, and of course मस्जिद अक्सा पे जाने के लिए उधर गार्ड्स होते हैं इसराइल के, एंड यू कैन नॉट गो इन देयर इफ यू हैव सर्टेन थिंग, और वो बहुत टाइट सिक्योरिटी रखते हैं। आई वेंट टू द वेलिंग वॉल, जब वो जहाँ खड़े होके प्रे कर रहे होते हैं, तो और फिर मैं उनके पीछे जो उनकी लाइब्रेरी थी जहाँ सारे तौरा पड़े होते हैं उनके, तना वो वहाँ गया था। दैट्स अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग प्लेस। So I just, I have just like a experience from people and everything, but I don't have too much knowledge about the जो हिस्ट्री का है कि ये किया ऑटोमन ने कर दिया, या एंड प्लस द वे आई लुक एट इट, जो ऑटोमन ने कर दिया वो कर दिया, अब वो कर चुके हैं। नाउ जो इस कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है वो आज के टाइम पे हो रही है, एंड वी हैव टू फिगर आउट how to deal with what's happening right now on the ground, right? So Ottoman ने क्या किया, Hitler ने क्या कर दिया, फिर उसके बाद British ने क्या कर दिया, that culminated to where we are right now. But can we change anything that has happened in that past? No. All we can do is just understand, okay,
So,
this is
so
what
what do
happened.
you propose is going to be the
I,
solution,
to
and
be
what do you
honest,
think?
I am way too uneducated to propose a solution for this. This is a
So, how are you
multi.
viewing this? So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Do you view the Hamas attack? How do you view the Hamas attack on Israel?
Of course, it's a terrorist attack. Hamas
Mhm.
ने जो अटैक किया वो completely वही वाला है, militant attack है, and attacking a civilian population उनके साथ है. तो of course it's not justified in any sense कि भाई वो attack करेंगे और civilian population में जाके civilians को literally target करके वो मारेंगे. So that part is unjustified. Now, were they justified in doing this? In the sense, well, 70 साल से अगर आप पे oppression की जा रही है तो they will take revenge in some way. So, I mean, it's not like they are justified in that, but if they did it, you can understand why they did it. Just like कोई कहता है ना कि भूख से कोई मर रहा होता है तो फिर वो जाके चोरी करता है. वो चोरी करके फिर जब पकड़ा जाता है तो बंदा फिर भी उसको सजा फिर भी दे रहा होता है क्योंकि भाई उसने लॉ ब्रेक किया है. Technically, he broke the law, but at the same time, you can understand like he didn't have the resources and he was desperate, so he did the chori. So just because he was desperate doesn't justify the fact that he broke into
But
another person's car.
they see Neo, you do realize that what percentage? Second question: what percentage of or how roughly do you think the Palestinian people support Hamas?
What percentage? I would say a good percentage of people in Palestine support Hamas. जो गाजा का एरिया है उसमें उनकी अच्छी है support क्योंकि Hamas is not only the militant wing. Remember, they have a lot of social programs, बच्चों के school. Yeah,
Do you
so
know?
of course.
First, we assumed when we did a bit of research in regards to that, we realized that Palestinian people, for the last decade or so, have carried out various protests against Hamas, and in those protests, a lot of them have been abducted, a lot of them have been beaten up. There's an entire report about Hamas's oppression on Palestinian people in the last 10 years or so. We can share that in the chats if you're interested. Said, would you like to share that? That is very enlightening, and I think not many people actually realize that, and people do not talk about that this is also the case, and that is not even being spoken about within the media. So that's point number one. And point number two, another question. Desi Neo, do you actually believe what Israel and how Israel is acting, keeping everything else into account? Yes, what Hamas did was a terror attack. There's no doubt about that. But and you tried to be sincere and non-biased when you basically mentioned that the Palestinian people are oppressed. I appreciate that, but I would not do that by supporting someone like Hamas, and I'm sure you don't. Uh, you were just bringing that point. Do you think how Israelis are reacting is that basically a good way to go about things?
Yeah, I think what they're doing is exactly what they were supposed to do, and they are going to do that. I mean, you can see that exactly. आपके अगर you have to understand Israel का history also. आप उनका एक बंदा जब इनका वो कैदी था जिसको रिहा करने के लिए उन्होंने बदले में 1000 पैलेस्टीनियन को अपनी जेल से रिहा किया था फॉर ट्रेडिंग वन सोल्जर फॉर
Mm,
1000 पैलेस्टीनियन प्रिजनर्स. तो उनसे पूछा था
mm.
कि लाइक हाउ कम वन प्रिजनर को एक्सचेंज कहते हैं बिकॉज दैट वन पर्सन इज वर्थ 1000 फॉर अस. लाइक वी केयर अबाउट आवर पीपल in that sense. अगर उनके एक बंदे के लिए they could do that, right? Just hear me out.
No, but
The-
yeah, yeah, I'm
yeah,
listening.
no, no, I'm saying that, see, अगर आप oppressed और जो है ना उनकी psyche भी समझो ना history के तरह they have been all throughout history they've been persecuted in different places. So it's not only purely like oh okay उन्होंने छोटा सा attack कर दिया. This has been the biggest attack on the Jewish people after the Holocaust. The significance of this attacks is way like it cannot be underestimated. हॉलोकॉस्ट के बाद इतना बड़ा लेवल पे अटैक जूइश पीपल पे कभी नहीं हुआ. ओके, सो अगर हॉलोकॉस्ट इज बीइंग सच अ बिग थिंग इन हिस्ट्री, राइट, इतनी बड़ी
mm,
चीज है हिस्ट्री की, जस्ट इमेजिन राइट आफ्टर हॉलोकॉस्ट दिस हैज बीन द बिगेस्ट अटैक.
mm,
थाउजेंड ऑफ देयर सिविलियंस बीइंग किल्ड
mm,
अनप्रोवोक्ड इन द सेंस के उन्होंने कोई बिगिनिंग ऑफ वॉर नहीं किया था, उन्होंने कोई डेक्लेरेशन ऑफ वॉर नहीं की. ओके, अगर वॉर में होता है दो चीजें लड़ रही होती है, ओके आई कैन, बट दे हैवंट इनिशिएटेड एनी लाइक डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ वॉर. आराम से उनको
mm,
लाइक सेपरेट है. ऑफ कोर्स प्रोसिक्यूशन है, उन्होंने उनको अपनी भी सिक्योरिटी देखनी पड़ेगी, दूसरों की भी सिक्योरिटी
mm,
देखनी पड़ेगी. बहुत सारे एस्पेक्ट है. आई नॉट सेइंग जस्टिफिकेशन इन दैट सेंस कि वो बिल्कुल जितनी वो कर रहे हैं बॉर्डर के ऊपर सही कर रहे हैं. ऑफ कोर्स ज्यादतियां करते हैं और वो कर रहे हैं, और पूरी दुनिया उनको मलाइन करती है कि हाँ तुमने
so
सेटलमेंट अननेसेसरी किया.
mm,
ओके, बट डज दैट मीन कि दे आर नॉट गोइंग टू रिटेलिएट अगर उनके साथ ये किया जाए? जब उन्होंने उनकी इलाके में आके 1000 सिविलियंस को जब उन्होंने मारा, राइट, राइट अवे नाउ यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड दैट दे विल रिटेलिएट. नाउ
mm.
रिटेलिएशन के अंदर आर दे गोना गो ओवरबोर्ड? यस दे विल, बिकॉज बदला ह्यूमन नेचर है, बदला लेना होता है. आप चाहे उनको जितना भी बोल दो ओ क्या कहते हैं ग्लोबल रूल्स हैं, ये है वो है, ओके रूल्स को फॉलो करेंगे, बट एट द सेम टाइम यू पूरी द जूइश नेशन राइट नाउ
ये
is
तो आपने
asking.
एक्सप्लेन कर दिया एंड आई एम ग्लैड यू डिड, बट डू यू थिंक दे आर जस्टिफाइड?
ऑफ कोर्स नॉट, दे जस्ट अगर वो जानबूझ के सिविलियंस को मारेंगे गाजा के अंदर जानबूझ के, then they are not justified. But of course as a state, as a Jewish state, they will show evidence के भाई हम लोग जानबूझ के नहीं मार रहे. अगर अब आप उस तरह से भी देखो, let's take the perspective of the Gaza, the Palestinians also. For the past 10 years they उनके जो documents मिले हैं, they have been planning a situation. What that means is जो tunnel system उन्होंने बनाए हुए हैं, it's
But
elaborate.
so you keep saying Palestinians. Do you consider Al Qaeda to be the Saudi government?
I consider
Similar
Palestinian.
parallel.
No, no. See, uh, Al Qaeda का इससे तो कोई ताल्लुक नहीं. Let's focus
नहीं
on
मुझे
just.
पता है मैं
No,
पैरेलल
no.
क्या
Of
ड्रॉ
course,
कर
no.
रहा
Al
हूँ.
Qaeda has not.
मैं पता है क्या
What I'm saying.
पैरेलल ड्रॉ कर रहा हूँ,
See, the
बात
thing
को
is,
समझिए.
as a state, as a.
बात को तो समझने की कोशिश करें.
नहीं नहीं.
देखें मैं
Al
पैरेलल ये
Qaeda is
ड्रॉ
not.
कर रहा हूँ कि
It's a false
नहीं
analogy.
आपसे ही बात
आप
करें ना,
parallel
आप
नहीं
एक
draw कर
सेकंड.
सकते.
जी जी आप बोल रहे हैं, पहले बोलें
हाँ
मैं
मैं
बात
बता रहा हूँ,
करता
आप parallel नहीं draw कर सकते because it's a false analogy. तो जब analogy भी देते हैं ना, it has to be very similar
हूँ.
analogy.
Why
You
is it
cannot.
a false analogy?
Okay, because Al Qaeda, right, has, it is not a government that is representing a set area that is
So you
self-governed.
believe Hamas is a set government?
As far as Gaza is concerned, Hamas is their political party that rules Gaza. Now you can disagree with it, okay? उनके अपने लोग object कर रहे हैं इससे, but it is the government of Gaza, and that is the
It's the government of Gaza. Do they have a prime minister?
whatever system they have.
Do they have
That
a government?
yes,
Is there
Gaza
a
is
cabinet?
governed. Okay, simple. Gaza is governed by Hamas or no? Yes or no?
No, it's not.
Okay, well, I disagree. Gaza is governed by Hamas. Hamas is their representation. Okay, on the other
That's
side, West
actually
Bank के ऊपर,
that's
West
completely
Bank के
untrue.
अंदर, huh?
Have you seen a single Palestinian on the media or even on social media basically claiming that Hamas is their government?
Yes, lots of them. आप उनके Palestinian page पे
Yeah.
जाओ, they represent. It depends on what.
And what does does the UN or the British or the Americans or which country recognizes Hamas as a government?
Israel. Israel recognizes Hamas as the political representation of the Gazan people from Gaza.
That's why I mentioned आप जरा ये डॉक्यूमेंट जो ऊपर शो हो रहा है इसको जरा चेक करें. इसके अंदर इन्होंने इनके ऊपर तो एक ही टेरर अटैक किया है. Look at what they've done to the Palestinians.
Yeah, so okay,
So
and
so why I'm equating that? Why I'm equating that, and hear me out, I listened to you very patiently. Why it's a perfect analogy as well is because at the end of the day, desi Leo, जब आप एक सिचुएशन को डेवलप होता हुआ देखते हैं और आप ये देखते हैं कि वहाँ के लोग एक गवर्नमेंट को एक्सेप्ट नहीं किए, पूरी दुनिया उस गवर्नमेंट को एक्सेप्ट नहीं किया करती, उनको ब्रैकेट्स के अंदर डाला हुआ है टेररिज्म के, एंड देयर अ टेररिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। जब आप उसको इक्वेट करेंगे, बल्कि इससे पहले कि मैं कंप्लीट करूं, आई आस्क यू अनदर क्वेश्चन, लाइक यू राइटफुली मेंशन्ड कि इसराइल के ऊपर ये सेकंड होलोकॉस्ट के बाद, शवा के बाद सबसे बड़ा अटैक कंसिडर किया जा रहा है। आप मुझे बताएं, सितंबर 11 जो था वो पर्ल हार्बर के बाद यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स की हिस्ट्री का सबसे बड़ा अटैक नहीं था ना?
I don't know the
या
specific
प्लीज
of that.
प्लीज
No, no.
वेरीफाई।
Pearl Harbor के बाद में was
सुन लें,
because
अगर
नहीं
आपको
नहीं
नहीं
आप
पता तो आप ये वेरीफाई कर लें। पर्ल हार्बर के बाद September 11th was the biggest attack on United States, right? Nobody's ever going to deny that. The US government even acknowledges that. इसके ऊपर academic papers आपको मिल जाएंगे, news reports मिल जाएंगी, you can always verify it. The point over here is, once that attack happened, did America or United States go after all? ये तो ऐसी बात कर रहा है इसराइल के एक कंट्री को आप recognize भी नहीं करते. Palestine does not exist as far as Israel is concerned. That's point number one. Point number two, because Palestine doesn't exist, that means these people, who do they happen to be? They happen to be indirectly is on behest of Israel. So that would there would not be an incorrect parallel to draw, even though you might disagree. कि जब सितंबर 11 हुआ था उसके बाद ना यूएस मुस्लिम सिटीजन्स को जाके बॉम्ब कर देना चाहिए था यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स को, बट दे डिड नॉट डू दैट। या 7/7 की या मैड्रिड की जब बॉम्बिंग्स हुई थी, तो ईयू को और यूनाइटेड किंगडम को अपने ब्रिटिश और यूरोपियन मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी को अटैक कर देना चाहिए था, अपनी आर्मीज उनके एरियाज में भेजनी चाहिए थी, एंड दे शुड हैव गॉन एंड दे शुड हैव लाइक ब्लोन देम टू पीसेस। कि आपकी कम्युनिटी के अंदर से होम ग्रोन टेररिज्म या आपकी कम्युनिटी से इंटरनेशनली टेररिस्ट आए हैं। सो दैट्स वेयर द प्रॉब्लम इज that on one side you've got Hamas, who's a terrorist organization, and on the other side you've got a genocidal apartheid state of Israel taking a complete license and trying to scot free use this opportunity to completely annex what is left of the Palestinian lands. और अगर आप कंपेयर करते हैं, बिल्कुल आप अगर नोट करें तो बेन शपीरो के जो कमेंट्स हैं, व्हाट डिड ही से? It's one in a lifetime kind of an opportunity. ठीक है, these were not his exact words, but he said go and kill enough of these son of bitches. So there is nothing. He outrightly said, go and annex this piece of land. And you see the Western forces right now outrightly supporting that notion. तो ये कुछ बातें हैं, आपका मुझे नहीं पता इस पे क्या कमेंट है, ये मेरा ओपिनियन है इसके ऊपर। टू wrongs do not make a right. Both Hamas and the state of Israel are criminals as we speak, and the only sufferers are the common men, common people. ठीक है, पहले इसराइल के अंदर वो यहूदी बच्चे बच्चियां मरे, और अब you're getting a complete ethnic cleansing which is not even parallel to what's occurred in Israel. Hamas is indirectly responsible to what is happening to Palestinians by attacking the Israelis, and Israelis are right now committing a genocide against the people who cannot even leave that country without acquiring Israeli papers. तो ये कुछ बातें
okay
थी, इसके
चलिए
अलावा
ठीक
मेरे
है।
पास
अगर मुझे let's look at it from a point of view of the Israeli Defense Force. from their point of view. Okay, their people have been attacked. Right now, they have to go into. They are supposed to attack back, fight back with Hamas. Let's say, let's take a different aspect of it. You're a Israeli commander, okay, military. Now you have intelligence जो आपको बता रही है कि the Hamas are living inside the civilian population and they are using civilian infrastructure to plan more attacks on Israel, and they are planning more attacks on Israeli people. They have all sorts of caches of weapon and all sorts of things, and they are inside this area, Gaza, very small area, not a big. आवाज आ रही है मैं?
Neo, like if I can interject a bit, yeah, this is a very interesting survey done by Washington Institute, which is a think tank जो कि मिडल ईस्ट पे डिफरेंट वाइट पेपर्स निकालता है. दिस इज वन ऑफ द सर्विस जो कि जुलाई 2023 में कंडक्ट किया इन्होंने पैलेस्टीनियंस और डिफरेंट और रीजन के लोगों के साथ, एंड द कंक्लूजन्स जो कि बड़े बड़े इसमें से निकले कि आप देख सकते हैं.
सही.
सीज फायर ब्रेक करने के लिए मेजोरिटी ऑफ देम सेड कि भाई नहीं करनी चाहिए थी. ठीक है, सपोर्ट ऑफ हमास भी उस तरह नहीं है. मिडिल ईस्टर्न बाकी कंट्रीज की भी सपोर्ट ऑफ हमास इन्होंने नीचे बताई भी है. वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग स्टैटिस्टिक्स. आई थिंक यू शुड लुक एट इट बिफोर forming opinions, क्योंकि I always go to numbers to form opinions, and this survey is very indicative of, and it is very unpopular also in certain, especially Pakistani circles, क्योंकि they are like गौरव ने कराया है, फलस्तीनियन हमास को सपोर्ट करते हैं, जो आप कह रहे हो. ठीक है, एक्चुअली ये सर्वे जो कि यूएस के ही एक थिंक टैंक इंस्टीट्यूट ने कराया, इट इज टोटली ऑपोजिट बता रहा है जो कि हमारे यहाँ एक जनरल परसेप्शन होती है. जी.
Okay. आपकी आवाज, मेरी आवाज कट हो रही है या आपकी?
यार फुरकान भाई की हो रही थी, लेकिन बात यहाँ पे ये है कि मैं आपको उनका
वो जो है
पॉइंट
एग्जांपल मैं दे रहा था,
जल्दी से एक छोटा सा मैं सम अप कर दूं.
वो जो मैं एग्जांपल दे रहा था उसी को एक्सप्लेन. यू आर द कमांडर ऑफ इजराइल, राइट, ऑफ द मिलिट्री, राइट. आपके पास एक मिशन है, यू वांट टू गेट रिड ऑफ हमास. हमास ने आप पे अटैक किया. इट्स अ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन दैट इज सिटिंग इनसाइड गाजा, like say. Okay, now you have intelligence, be under this apartment, right, there's a tunnel system. Okay, under that apartment there's a tunnel, under that apartment there's a tunnel. Now you have intelligence that this tunnel system is being used to plan future attacks on Israel. You are Israeli, okay, and you are tasked to protect your people. राइट नाउ अगर आपको इंटेलिजेंस ये मिल रही है कि ये टनल के अंदर वेपन्स हैं और बॉम्ब्स पड़े हुए हैं और वो उन्होंने अभी कल इस्तेमाल करने हैं इसराइल के ऊपर और आपके बंदे मर सकते हैं, आपके पास इंटेलिजेंस है, आप क्या करोगे? वुड यू नॉट टेक आउट दीस टनल्स? नाउ एक सेकंड, लेट मी फिनिश. ओके कैन मी नाउ what would you do as a military commander? What you would do is you would send an airplane and first call these people, say, hey,
you want to answer it yourself? I thought that was a question to me.
No, I'm saying I'm giving you options. I'm giving you two options what you would do. So the first option is you would call those people, say, hey,
कौन बनेगा करोड़पति नहीं है, आप बताएं आपका क्या ओपिनियन.
तो मैं बता रहा हूँ आपको, आप सुन तो रहे. आप इतनी देर से बात कर रहे हैं, आपकी बात सुन रहे हैं सब लोग, तो दूसरे को भी बात करने का मौका दे लें, कोई बात नहीं होता. इट्स ओके टू लिसन टू डिफरिंग ओपिनियंस, नो प्रॉब्लम. Okay.
Obviously listening to you, I'm just saying कि अगर आप rhetoric question कर रहे हैं तो आप बता दें कि आप rhetoric question कर रहे हैं.
Okay, would you not take out Hamas if you had the opportunity to take out Hamas and in that process do as much as you can to minimize civilian damage? Would you not do that?
Are you asking me that question?
Yeah, because you didn't want me to finish the whole example, so I'll just cut it short. You are the military commander for Israel.
I'm telling you very politely, or do you want to continue speaking?
I don't understand what you're trying to do. I was trying to set up an example and then you cut me off.
Yeah, then give me an example.
Okay, very simple. You're the commander of Israel army. You have been tasked to get rid of Hamas. How would you go about doing it?
I would not go and carpet bomb the entire community or an
Nobody is
entire
carpet bombing
region.
there. That word
No,
itself is
I would
false.
not
Take
do
second. Don't
airstrikes.
use wrong language and then go. I can't let you go forward when you use the wrong. There is no such thing as carpet bombing is Gaza. Okay,
That's
carpet bombing
planned
क्या
in
होती
the
है?
next few days.
No, no, no. You don't
You
understand.
might
When you
not want to refer to it, but
first of all,
analysts at the
Shaji,
UNR.
can you define
यार
carpet
क्या
bombing to me?
आप तो लड़ने के लिए आए हैं,
नहीं
आप
नहीं तो
मुझे
आप
बात
गलत
नहीं
वर्ड
करने
यूज
देंगे।
करेंगे और आगे
आप
चले जाएंगे।
चलें,
डिफाइन करें
मैं कौन सा
ओके
वर्ड यूज करूं? देसी
ओके
लियो,
लेट
आप
मी
बताएं
आस्क।
मैं कौन सा वर्ड यूज करूं?
मैं अभी गूगल सर्च करता हूँ carpet
How
bombing
do
किसे
you
कहते हैं।
define how do you, what word would you want to
Okay,
use
I'll tell you.
in terms
Carpet
of
bombing,
Israel? यार
devastating bombing attack that
हाँ जी
seeks to
जी
destroy
जी
every part of a
हाँ,
wide area. Okay, carpet
अच्छा
bombing वो थी जब वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 के अंदर
यार कार्पेट
जहाज
बॉम्बिंग को छोड़ें,
नहीं
मेरा
नहीं नहीं तो
क्वेश्चन
देखे ना
सुने
यही
आप।
होता है। वर्ड्स मैटर टू
यार
मी
मेरा
व्हेन यू आर यूजिंग द
क्वेश्चन
रॉन्ग
सुने
वर्ड्स
आप,
आई
मैं
विल कैच यू ऑन द रॉन्ग वर्ड। सो
यार
फर्स्ट इट
एक
वाजंट अ
सेकंड,
carpet bombing,
calm
so
down sir.
don't use the word
Sir,
carpet
calm
bombing.
down. I'm asking you now so the conversation can proceed, and let me complete my sentence. I'm giving you the space. आप मुझे ये बताइए कि ये जो इसराइल जो अटैक कर रहा है इस वक्त पैलेस्टाइन के ऊपर, इसको आप क्या कहते हैं? आप मैं वो वाला वर्ड यूज करूंगा अपने
Yeah,
आर्गुमेंट
it's
के लिए,
called
बोलिए।
strategic bombing, not carpet bombing. Strategic होती है
अच्छा,
pinpoint the
चलें,
target and
चलिए
attack
मुझे
that
पता लग
target.
गया, आप मैंने इतना ही पूछा था ना आपसे।
हाँ
ठीक
तो
है,
देखे ना जब आप
इस जी जी
can I
आगे
elaborate,
बताइए।
can I take a second to
या
elaborate something?
कैरी ऑन, एलैबोरेट, आप
Okay,
बता दीजिएगा जब मैंने बोला।
हाँ ठीक है। जब आप बोलते हो ना Hamas killed people, it doesn't have an
हुँ,
impact. When you say Hamas killed for 40 babies and beheaded them, it's a totally different impact that word means. So words matter. Of course, 40
हुँ,
babies were not beheaded and all that, but just the fact that they used that word
हुँ।
made the
Then why did
whole
you
thing.
use that? Why
Can
why
I?
did
No,
you
I
use
wasn't
the
finished. I wasn't finished. So when you use that
okay.
word, it makes an impact
हुँ,
differently. Same way, when you use the
हुँ।
word Israel is carpet bombing Gaza, it has a totally different meaning than what it actually is doing. So words
Okay,
matter
can
and
we
the way you use.
go past carpet bombing and concentrate on the strategic bombing which Israel is
Exactly. Now,
carrying out
strategic
using
bombing.
US? Yeah.
Exactly, strategic bombing. You are Israeli commander, and you are tasked to take
हुँ,
care of Hamas. Hamas is hiding
हुँ,
in the civilian population, and they have a network of tunnels under civilian
हुँ।
infrastructure. What would you do?
I would do exactly what my government in the United Kingdom did after 7/7 bombings. They went and they increased their surveillance. They tried to find extremist groups. They tried to find the extremist routes. They tried to make the place secure for the people. In regards to that, they did not go out and strategically bomb out complete communities.
Okay, well,
That's what
if
I would
that's
do.
okay, so if you would do that, you would not be the commander of Israel. Okay, Israel is
So,
not
so, so,
Britain.
so now can I make my point? I've answered your question. Now the point is you live in Europe, don't you? You mentioned that in a
I
previous
live in New
stream.
York. Yeah, New York.
You live in New York. So your own country, United States of America, which you're proudly part of, and everything. The question over here is when 7/7, oh sorry, 9/11 occurred. Did they strategically bomb the Muslims residing in the USA?
Because it's not the same thing. Muslims didn't don't represent one political group. Muslims, they're gonna go bomb Muslims. What does that even mean? That doesn't even mean anything. Let me go bomb Muslims. Like that's a
Did they
ridiculous statement to
the
say.
Muslim citizens of United States? Did they bomb them?
What does the Muslim citizens of United States? Why would you
Yeah,
bomb your
did
own?
they strategically bomb them?
How's that even make any sense? If 9/11
Yeah,
happened and
exactly. So how so
how?
my
Yes.
question is it doesn't make sense, does it? Now listen. I have heard you for the past 25 minutes very patiently building your argument. So my answer is going to be very precise and very simple. Won't last more than 30 seconds if you don't interject, right? So my response is exactly, it doesn't make sense when I say that. Just like it doesn't make sense that Israel is going after the entire people of Gaza Strip. The word they're using is not against Gaza, they're using the terms Palestinian. And Palestinians, obviously, like we've shown you documentation, there's a UN report out there. There are Palestinians screaming day and night on TV and everywhere else in the protest that they have nothing to do with Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization, and yet the Palestinians and the term Palestinian is used in every argument rather than Hamas, and that is the primary issue. And I exactly, it doesn't make sense for United States to do that. It didn't make sense for United Kingdom to do that. Just like it doesn't make sense to the normal, sensible person what Israel is doing to the Palestinian people. They're not the ones who carried out the terror attack. It was Hamas. They should look for a. They're supposed to have one of the strongest intelligence around the globe. Apparently, they cannot figure out who's Hamas and who's not. There's not a better way of dealing with that. Thank you very much. That's my limited point. That's all what I have to say. You might have a disagreement, but that's all what I have to say on that.
Okay, I agree. I appreciate that. That's your point of view. And I don't agree with your point of view. I have a different point of view about that. And the way Israel is doing it, it's because of the conditions and situations of that country, and that area is specific to that area and that conflict. Each conflict cannot be mapped over another conflict. US के ऊपर जो attack हुआ 9/11 cannot be mapped onto Israel. British के अंदर जो हुआ whatever 11 वो जो है जो जिसका आप मेंशन कर रहे थे, it cannot be matched over Israel and Palestinian जो conflict है. Every conflict has their own geopolitical situation and nuances to that area. Okay, so you cannot be like, look at this. This is what happened. Oh, that's why
वेरी
this
वेरी
is.
इंटरेस्टिंग. तो फिर आप राइट से रॉन्ग को कैसे डिफाइन करेंगे? ये आर्ग्यूमेंट
Of
तो हिटलर
course,
के
right and
स्पीकर भी
हाँ,
यूज
तो
कर
right and
सकते हैं.
wrong
ये
is
ये ये
depend.
बात यहाँ पे पता है क्या है? Do you know how you distinguish the human casualties? Are they outnumbering the actual अब हमास भी अगर जाके आर्मी के ऊपर फाइट करता, it would have been a different scenario. How you measure is how many children, how many women, how many innocent people are dying from a certain strategic attack, like while you're stating it, right? And that's where the difference is, and that's how
Well, we
normal
both,
people.
well, in that case, we both agree. Both sides, the Hamas and
Yeah, so say
Israel,
it like
are
that. I'm glad
committing
you.
atrocity, and I agree with that. Both are committing atrocities,
Yeah,
and
so that was
both
my
have
point.
and both have justification for why they're doing it.
Not
So
Palestinian, Hamas and
yes, I said
Israeli
Hamas. I
state.
didn't say Hamas.
Yeah.
I didn't say Palestinian. I said both Hamas and Israel are committing atrocities, and both have their own justification for why they're committing the atrocities.
I don't think there's no justification for any kind of atrocity committed by any side, and that is where people get it wrong, whether it is Hamas or whether it is the Israeli state. Thank you very
Well,
much.
justification, it depends on
There is
how
no
how.
justification.
Well, okay,
Otherwise,
that's okay.
if you're going
We
to justify
I agree to
atrocity,
disagree. I
then
agree.
Nazi supporters will justify what they did
No,
as
see,
well.
again, you'll go straight to Nazi. That's what I'm saying. हर चीज को आप दूसरी चीज के साथ मैच नहीं कर सकते. और
यार इसी
आप
तरह इंसान देखते हैं, कंपैरिजन के अंदर होलिस्टिक व्यूज बनते हैं. दैट इज द एकेडमिक वे. दिस इज हाउ रिसर्च इज कैरिड आउट. दिस इज हाउ
sure, sure.
एनालिसिस आर
Okay.
परफॉर्म.
That's
हर
why
कोई
right in
किसी
the
चीज को
beginning,
सिंगुलरली नहीं देखना
that's
चाहता.
why right in the beginning I said this sort of the making what do you call a point about like, oh, I think this way. I think I look at it in a totally different way, in a more holistic way. I
It's fine.
understand.
So it's okay. I think we're going round circles. You've made your point. I've made my
Yeah,
point. Let's
I
move
agree.
on.
You have a certain view for it, and that's fine. That's your opinion. That's you can keep opinion like that.
Yeah.
I don't share that
Of
opinion.
course,
I look.
and
Yeah,
you can think that it's justified to both sides have justification for oppression and killing of
No, the
innocent
conflict
people.
is way more nuanced and
Mhm.
complicated than what you see make it seem as if like one side and second side. The
I think
conflict
some things are
has,
very plain, black and
well, to
white
you
in
it
terms
is,
of,
but this is
देखो
a
मेरे
conflict
लिए
that
तो
has been
यार
going for
देखो देखो
70 years से
देसी
एक
नियो
अगर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट जा रहा है ना, आप उसको एक बिल्कुल एक ब्लैक एंड
देसी
व्हाइट में
नियो
नहीं देख सकते.
माइक्रो लेवल के ऊपर देखोगे, दूसरी जगहों के साथ कंपेयर नहीं करोगे, तो आप हर वक्त साइड्स के अंदर कंफ्यूज रहोगे। अगर एक इजरायली खातून सड़क पे जा रही है एंड शी इज killed, ठीक है, and a Palestinian woman is walking down the road and she is killed. You can't take a side one over the other. If both of them were innocent, both of them were crimes, both of them were casualties, and you have to put your hands up as a common man, as a normal person, an unbiased human, and you have to say there were two lives which were lost, which were completely innocent, and the perpetrators cannot have any kind of justification for doing so. Thank you very much.
That's always called collateral damage, and that's अगर जो innocent जो इसराइल मरे हैं वो भी collateral
हाँ तो
damage है,
ठीक है, आपकी
and
मर्जी है
जो
यार।
जो innocent
So you think
Palestinian
it's
मरे हैं they are
justified?
also collateral damage.
Do you think it's justified?
War is never justified. It depends on how what happens.
आपने खुद
Ju-
अभी 5 मिनट पहले बोला कि it's justified. What are you
Justified means they.
justifying
I
here?
did you not
आप
hear
इतनी
what I
देर
said?
से आर्ग्यू क्या कर रहे हैं?
Shaji,
देन
did you
अगर
not
मैंने
understand what I said? I
ये जो
said
मैंने
they
दो
have.
खातूनों की एग्जांपल दी ना, देसी नहीं हो, इसका जवाब पता है क्या बनता था? इसका जवाब बनता था, आई कंप्लीटली एग्री, अब इफ
No,
यू वुड हैव
no. I
एग्रीड।
said they have
अगर इसका जवाब ये
justification
नहीं
for
बनता
it.
ना, then you want justification for it, for a loss of innocent lives, you're justifying it। तो ये अब मैं इसके ऊपर क्या ही आर्ग्यू कर सकता हूँ? दैट्स वेयर वी
Well, I just
डिफरेंशिएट।
feel
I
कि
believe there
Shaji,
is no
you
justification for innocent lives,
there is
whatever you
always
call them।
justification that can be
चलें ठीक
given
है, आपके
depend
लिए
on
Uh,
justification नहीं।
which
Can we move
perspective you're
on now?
looking at
We
it
need to close
from.
up। ठीक है
Okay,
देसी
that's
नहीं
Shaji,
fine.
हो।
I think Shaji, what correct me if I'm wrong, Neo, but I think what he meant was that they give
Yeah,
justifications,
that's why I was trying to make a point that I didn't say it's justified. I said each side have a justification for why they are doing X, Y, and Z.
and
Now
that
you might not
justification doesn't
agree to
have
it.
to be right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't have
exactly.
to be
You
right.
think
And my
Hamas जो
exact point
Hamas
is,
जब
whatever
justification देता है,
justification,
you think
my
it's right
point was
what they did?
beyond
Of course
that।
not.
My point was beyond that, where I basically am trying to say, Sid, that whatever justification these people give, and that's why I drew the parallel, ये तो फिर कोई भी oppressor आके यही कह देगा, उस हर एक के पास कोई ना कोई justification होती है। एक rapist के पास भी ये justification होगी कि he was starved from sex, the woman was not letting him have sex with her, इसलिए ये तो फिर वो भी
ये
justify
देखें
कर
फिर
देगा।
शाजी आप ad absurdum fallacy पे चले जाते हो. You take
यार
it
मैं
to a ad
fallacy पे नहीं
absurdum
जाता,
fallacy.
मैं
Yeah,
करता हूँ सीधी सीधी
because
बात।
that is what it is. Or
ठीक
that's
है,
why the
देखो नियो
rapist can do
नियो,
this. Like
ये
that
ये
doesn't
ये
even
जो
make any
ये
sense.
जो मैं करता हूँ सीधी सीधी बात, ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट। ठीक है,
Thank you.
जस्टिफाई
देखिए
कोई
अपने
भी
मुंह
कर
से इन्होंने
सकता है।
कह दिया,
एवरी
इन्होंने अपने मुंह
क्रिमिनल
से
हैज
कह दिया. शाहजी आपने अपने मुंह से कह दिया. मैं तो
एवरी
सिर्फ ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट में कहता हूँ.
नियो
Thank you for agreeing
एवरी
with me. And I said exactly the same thing. आपकी approach
जी जी ऑफ
purely
कोर्स,
black and
क्योंकि
white है. आपकी
मैथमेटिक्स डज
nuanced
नॉट
approach नहीं है.
लाई।
No, you just said it from your
देखो
mouth. मेरी
देखो एक
approach black
सेकंड,
and white है.
नियो नियो मेरी बात। Yeah, I know, I own every word I say।
So I
That is
don't. My
also black
approach
and
is
white।
not black and
ठीक
white.
है,
My approach is more
can I
nuanced.
complete what I'm saying? हाँ हाँ, बहुत अच्छी बात है, आप रखें अपनी अप्रोच में, आई डोंट केयर आपकी क्या अप्रोच है, मैं बात कर लूँ?
I
अगर आप
care
मुझे
about your
इजाजत
approach,
दें
and I
नियो साहब,
understand
मैं
your
बात कर लूँ?
point of view also. I
नियो मैं
understand
बात कर
why
लूँ?
you would
नियो,
have a certain opinion about it. I understand, and it's
ओके
okay. You
फाइन।
have a certain opinion. It doesn't have
नियो
to be that your opinion is
नियो
right. It just means it's your opinion. That's all.
नियो, we need to move on। Can I very politely ask you to be quiet? Is that possible? Thank you, thanks a lot। So I think we're going for a close. My final comment in the conversation which we've had is very, very simple. In terms of when I said everything can be, everyone can draw their conclusions in regards to that. This is obviously recorded. And in terms of why I said or used the word black and white is very simple. I to justify his actions. It's very rare when proven that they cannot do, they can't get out of it, is that's when they get punished. So I'll go back and close with that opinion that whether it's a Israeli innocent life of a normal Jew or a Palestinian one, there is no justification in terms of a neutral perspective for somebody who's an outsider, no matter who is trying to justify it, how they're trying to justify it, it doesn't hold any water. And that's why we have courts, that's why we have morality, that's why we've got UN, that's why we've got all these places where people argue, that's why we talk about academia. You have to have a certain set of frames in regards to how you say something is correct and something is incorrect, something is a crime and something is not a crime without trying to justify or not justify. Thank you very much.
मैं सिर्फ लास्ट स्टेटमेंट इस पे ये कहूंगा, आप स्टार वॉर्स देखें। स्टार वॉर्स में बहुत अच्छा डायलॉग आपके लिए, ओनली द सिथ स्पीक इन एब्सोल्यूट्स, सो इफ यू आर ओनली गोना बी स्पीकिंग इन एब्सोल्यूट्स, the only the Sith speaks in absolute. So in my opinion, I have a totally different nuanced approach for it. I don't look at everything in black and white. I understand where different people are coming from and what their justifications for it is, and I have a much broader view of like, okay, ये लोगों को क्या अप्रोच है, इन्होंने क्या गलतियां की हैं और किसकी वजह से ये इस पॉइंट पे हैं। इसी तरह पैलेस्टीनियन साइड से क्या क्या गलतियां हुई हैं, हमास की साइड से क्या क्या गलतियां हुई हैं और वो क्यों इस पोजीशन पे आए हुए हैं। So that's why I don't hold a very staunch opinion about like he is wrong and he's right and he's wrong and he's right. I have a different view of it, and other people have a very staunch opinion about it. No problem. That's why I don't force my opinion on other people. Thank you very much for
I
giving me
would
the
Thank you,
time.
I
Neo.
would like
एक
I
एक
would
सेकंड
like to
एक एक
request.
सेकंड एक सेकंड एक सेकंड एक सेकंड जस्ट गिव मी अ मोमेंट कंपनी
फुरकान भाई चीज
जी
देखो यो जहाँ तक बात है ना, आई वेंट थ्रू एंटायर हिस्ट्री एंड दिस एंटायर पैनल दैट when you come to a conclusion या एक कोर्ट केस के अंदर with the given information एक बात होती है तो उसका एक ही आंसर होता है in terms of a verdict. So my verdict, maybe I used incorrect words, maybe you did not understand. My verdict after assessing the entire situation is that an innocent life, whatever drew them to that side on either side, is a crime. No matter what justification somebody gives, you might want to call it collateral damage, but that's a crime. That is a criminal activity on somebody's part. An innocent life lost is an innocent life lost. Whether it is of a group of people or an individual, the verdict is a verdict in regards to that. Nobody is going to deny that. Thank you very much.
I would
ओके सो
like
जी
to
से आप कर लो फिर मैं बोल लेता हूँ ओके गो अहेड
actually I was going to request Medusa to give her final words in reference with Star Wars, since Neo used a Star Wars reference. So I think
नहीं
it is.
नहीं I think like I'll give some opinion on what was being said and going back and forth शायद Neo Desi, you gave a very black and white statement about the opinions that Shah was holding और जो उन्होंने कहा बट मुझे एक चीज बड़ी अजीब लगी कि ठीक है आप कह रहे हो ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट नहीं आप बड़ी नुआंस्ड बात करते हैं एंड यू होल्ड वेरी नुआंस्ड ओपिनियंस बट when the question about Hamas was asked you were very categorical in saying it's a terrorist organization you didn't like went layer by layer granularity नहीं रहा अपने arguments में you were very clear उन्होंने बहुत जुल्म किया and they are terrorists और innocents के साथ किया I didn't see that when you were discussing IDF and Palestinians. ठीक है you went layer by layer, used certain terms, collateral damage, yada yada yada, but वो same approach नहीं थी जो कि आपने हमास के साथ ली ठीक है and that is hypocritical of you to be honest and then labeling कि भाई ये black and white जा रहे हैं मैं बड़ी nuanced बात कर रहा हूँ bullshit Thank you very much.
सबकी फाइनल स्टेटमेंट्स अगर हो गई हो तो आई जस्ट वांट टू से स्मॉल थिंग. uh, you know how they were talking about the solutions about Israel. So I was about this whole situation, you know, about how they're supposed to bomb them and you know how they're going to deal with Hamas. It reminded me somewhat of because I belong to North Waziristan, so it reminded me a lot of what happened, like you know, in Waziristan, because you see, you Oh, and Gaza Strip, the people were just cornered and they were left kind of literally leaderless. And this is what come out of it, right? So if you let people like Waziristan was mostly an outlaw space. So when the Taliban stuff started brewing up there, it was a lawless place. Nobody really could control anything. They had complete control on a lot of stuff, even though people didn't want it later on. But how did they deal with it? The Zarbe Azab. They got everyone out of that place, and then they bombed the hell out of them. Like you know, Waziristan was in ashes. Like when we entered there into my hometown, I mean, it was like a spooky town, right? Everything was messed up. So if they wanted, I think this is the most sensible way to do that thing, but I don't think they want to do it. But then again, you can also blame the whole situation on how most of the countries like Egypt and everything, then they should have just said, you know what, just open the borders and let the people in. I mean, how many refugees would that be, right? Just send them over to other places. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, if you're going to cry about how they're dying and everything, you can give them space to live, but that is not happening. So that these are some of my last comments. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel and turn on that bell button so that you can get notification whenever we're online. And I'm gonna end this stream. Thank
Medusa, before you end the stream, I would
you.
really like to end it by saying, and I think this would be the voice of the Palestinians, uh, जो इन्होंने बात की थी कि the Israelis and the IDF are doing it as a form of revenge. A quote from the Star Wars is, "Strike me down in anger, and I'll always be with you, just like your father."
Obi-Wan Kenobi. So may the force be with you. I'm gonna end this stream. See you guys later.